She hadn't let a man touch her in 10 years. Not a handshake, not a hug, not even a brush of fingers. Until the night a soaking wet maintenance worker accidentally burst into her penthouse suite, cradling his sleeping daughter during a building emergency. What Elena Whitford didn't know was that one moment of compassion would shatter every carefully built wall she'd hidden behind, since her engagement ended in betrayal. But when a blurry photograph surfaces online and her powerful mother offers Marcus money to disappear, Elena faces an impossible choice: protect her family's pristine image or risk everything for a love that terrifies her more than loneliness ever did. This is the story of a woman who built a fortress around her heart, and the gentle single father who taught her that the bravest thing she could ever do was ask for help instead of offering it. If you're watching this, subscribe right now and tell me where you're watching from in the comments below. The rain came down in sheets, hammering the windows of Elena Whitford's penthouse suite like 1,000 tiny fists demanding attention. She stood barefoot on the cold marble floor, her silk robe wrapped tight against the chill that somehow crept in despite the building's perfect climate control. Her laptop sat open on the coffee table, a half-written apology letter to a VIP guest glowing on the screen. Elena had always liked the rain. It gave her permission to stay inside, away from the world that expected her to shake hands and accept hugs and lean in for air kisses. 10 years since her engagement had ended. 10 years since she'd let anyone truly close. The building alarm chirped somewhere in the walls, a soft, electronic complaint that made her frown. Then her phone buzzed on the table. Sprinkler malfunction, VIP corridor, under control. Ruth Elena exhaled. Ruth Alvarez, the night manager, never panicked. If Ruth said it was under control, it was. Elena picked up her mug of chamomile tea and carried it to the window, watching the storm turn the city into a watercolor painting of blurred lights and shadow. That's when she heard it, a beep. The electronic click of a keycard, her door swinging open. Elena spun around, her heart jumping into her throat. A man stood in her doorway, soaking wet, his maintenance uniform dark with water. His eyes went wide when he saw her, and he immediately stepped back, one hand raised. "I'm so sorry," he said quickly. "Wrong suite. The master key. I thought this was..." That's when Elena noticed the child. A little girl, maybe 6 years old, was curled against the man's chest, her head tucked under his chin. She was sound asleep despite everything: the storm, the alarm, the chaos. Her dark curls were damp, pressed against the man's shoulder, and her small body shivered even in her sleep. Elena's panic shifted instantly to something else, something practical. "The hallway is flooded," the man continued, his voice low to avoid waking the child. "I was checking the isolation valves. I shouldn't have. I'll go." "Wait." Elena's voice came out steadier than she expected. "She's cold." The man looked down at his daughter. It had to be his daughter, the way he held her, and his jaw tightened. "We'll be fine. I just need to..." "Please." Elena took a small step forward, her hands visible, her posture as non-threatening as she could make it. "May I help?" The man studied her face for a long moment. Elena could see him weighing options, measuring risk. She didn't blame him. She was a stranger. This was her private space. He was an employee, dripping water onto her marble floor at midnight. "Just towels?" she said quietly. "And the heater. It's warmer in here than the corridor." Something in his face softened. "All right," he said. "Thank you." Elena moved carefully to the linen closet near the bathroom, pulling out 2 thick white towels. Her hands were steady. That surprised her. Usually, the thought of a stranger in her space sent her pulse racing, sent her back 10 years to broken promises and hands that took without asking. But this man stood completely still, his attention on the sleeping child. He wasn't moving closer. He wasn't making demands. He was just tired and worried and trying. She returned with the towels and held them out, keeping a respectful distance. "There's a heater near the chair," she said, nodding toward the armchair by the window. "Would that help?" "Yes, ma'am." "Elena," she corrected softly. "My name is Elena." His eyes met hers. They were kind eyes, she thought. Careful. "Marcus," he said. "And this is Maya." Elena nodded. She walked to the armchair and adjusted the small space heater she kept there for chilly nights. Then she pulled a dry blanket from the basket beside it and draped it over the cushion. She stepped back, giving Marcus room. He carried Maya over gently, each step deliberate. When he reached the chair, he paused and looked at Elena. "May I?" he asked. Elena blinked. He was asking her permission to sit in a chair she'd already offered. "Of course," she said. Marcus sat carefully, keeping Maya cradled against him. He took one of the towels and began to dry her hair with the kind of patient gentleness that told Elena this was routine for him. Night shift emergencies. A child who needed care. A father who knew how to give it. Elena stood near the kitchenette, uncertain. She wanted to help, but she didn't want to intrude. Her fingers twisted together, a nervous habit she thought she'd broken. "Would it be all right?" she asked quietly. "If I made something warm to drink?" Marcus looked up, surprised. "You don't need to." "I know," Elena said. "But I'd like to, if that's okay." He studied her for another moment, then nodded. "That's kind of you." Elena turned to the kitchenette, grateful for something to do with her hands. She filled the electric kettle and set it to boil, then pulled out 2 mugs and a packet of cocoa mix she kept for sleepless nights. The familiar motions calmed her. Behind her, she heard Marcus's radio crackle softly. "Marcus, you copy?" Ruth's voice came through, efficient but warm. "Copy," Marcus said quietly, his voice barely above a whisper. "Valve isolation in progress. Need another 10 minutes? You good where you are?" Marcus glanced at Elena. She gave him a small nod. "Yeah," Marcus said. "We're good." "Roger that. I'll ping you when we're clear." The radio clicked off. The kettle began to hum. Elena poured hot water over the cocoa powder, watching the browns swirl into clouds. She added a little extra to Marcus's mug. He looked like he needed it, and carried both over carefully. She set them on the side table near the chair, again keeping her distance. "Thank you," Marcus said. "You're welcome." For a moment, they just stood there, the rain filling the silence. Then Maya stirred, her small voice muffled against Marcus's shoulder. "Daddy?" "I'm here, baby," Marcus murmured, rubbing her back. "Go back to sleep." Elena crouched down, bringing herself to the child's eye level, even though Maya's eyes were still closed. "You're safe," she said softly. "Everything's okay?" Maya settled again, her breathing evening out. Marcus looked at Elena with something close to surprise. "You're good with kids," he said. Elena shook her head. "I don't know many, but I remember being small. I remember needing to hear that everything was okay." Marcus's expression shifted, something deeper moving behind his eyes. "Yeah," he said quietly. "Me too." The minutes passed slowly. Elena sat on the floor near the heater, her back against the wall, far enough away to give Marcus space, but close enough that they could talk without waking Maya. The cocoa steamed between them like a small, fragile truce. "How long have you worked here?" Elena asked. 3 years, Marcus said. "Building engineer. I handle HVAC, plumbing, electrical. Basically anything that keeps the place running." "You're good at it," Elena said. "Ruth only calls people she trusts." Marcus smiled faintly. Ruth's solid. Best manager I've worked with. She is. Elena wrapped her hands around her own mug, letting the warmth seep into her fingers. I've known her since I started here 5 years ago. You're in guest relations, right? Marcus asked. I've seen your name on the staff updates. Elena nodded. Public relations, officially. I handle VIP concerns, reputation management, that sort of thing. She paused. It's a lot of making sure things look perfect. Sounds exhausting. She let out a surprised laugh, small but real. It is. They fell quiet again. Elena could hear the storm beginning to ease outside, the rain shifting from a roar to a steady patter. Maya's breathing was soft and even. The heater clicked quietly, doing its work. Can I ask you something? Marcus said. Elena looked up. Okay. Back when I came in, you didn't panic. You didn't call security. You just helped. He hesitated. Why? Elena considered the question. The real answer was complicated. The real answer involved a man who'd once said he loved her, who'd tried to own her instead, who'd made her afraid of every touch that came without warning. But there was a simpler truth, too. You asked first, she said. You didn't assume, and Maya needed to be warm. Marcus nodded slowly. My ex-wife used to say I overthink things, always asking permission, always checking in. She thought it made me weak. It doesn't, Elena said firmly. No, Marcus agreed quietly. It doesn't, but it cost me my marriage anyway. Elena didn't know what to say to that, so she said nothing. Sometimes silence was its own kind of answer. Marcus shifted Maya slightly in his arms, and the little girl's hand flopped out from under the blanket. Without thinking, Elena reached over and gently tucked it back in, her fingers brushing the soft cotton of Maya's sleeve. Then she froze. She'd just touched someone, reached out without asking, crossed a boundary she'd spent 10 years building, but Marcus didn't pull away. He just watched her, his expression careful and calm. Thank you, he said. Elena pulled her hand back slowly, her heart pounding. But it wasn't panic. It was something else, something unfamiliar. It felt a little bit like hope. By the time Ruth knocked softly on the door 20 minutes later, Elena and Marcus had talked about small things, safe things, favorite breakfasts. Marcus liked scrambled eggs with hot sauce. Elena preferred plain toast. Morning routines. Maya woke up singing. Elena woke up to silence and tea. The weather, the city, the way hotels felt like small cities unto themselves. Ruth stepped inside, took in the scene with one efficient glance, and smiled faintly. Valves isolated, corridors still damp but safe enough to walk. I've got dry linens set up in 412 if you want to relocate. Marcus stood carefully, Maya still asleep in his arms. Thanks, Ruth. Thank Elena, Ruth said. She's the one who probably saved you from a very uncomfortable hour in the service hallway. Marcus looked at Elena, and there it was again, that quiet, steady gratitude. I do thank her, he said. Elena stood, brushing invisible lint from her robe. It was nothing. It wasn't, Marcus said, but I'll let you get back to your night. He moved toward the door, and Elena felt a strange pull in her chest. She didn't want him to leave. Not yet. Not without... Wait, she said. Marcus turned. Elena took a breath. Would you like to stay? Just until the fans dry the corridor? There's no reason to carry her through wet floors if you don't have to. Marcus hesitated, clearly weighing propriety against practicality. Ruth made the decision for him. Smart, Ruth said. I'll radio you when it's clear. Shouldn't be more than an hour. She slipped out before Marcus could argue, the door clicking shut behind her. Marcus looked at Elena. You're sure? I am, Elena said, and she meant it. Marcus returned to the chair, settling Maya back into the blanket. Elena dimmed the lights to a soft amber glow and sat back down on the floor, this time a little closer than before. "Can I ask you something now?" she said. "Fair's fair," Marcus said. "Why do you work nights?" Marcus was quiet for a moment. "Maya's with my sister during the day. I pick her up from school, we have dinner, I put her to bed. Then I come here." He stroked his daughter's hair absently. "It's not perfect, but it works." "It sounds hard," Elena said. "It is," Marcus admitted. "But she's worth it." Elena looked at the sleeping child, her round face peaceful in the dim light. "She's lucky to have you." "I'm lucky to have her," Marcus said. "She's the only thing I got right." The honesty of it hit Elena square in the chest. She pulled her knees up and wrapped her arms around them, making herself smaller, safer. "I was engaged once," she said, the words tumbling out before she could stop them. 10 years ago. He said he loved me. He said he wanted to take care of me. But what he really wanted was to manage me, to control where I went, who I talked to, how I spent my time. She swallowed. "When I ended it, he told me I'd never find anyone who could handle me, that I was too difficult, too cold." She hadn't told anyone that in years. Marcus's voice was gentle when he spoke. "You're not cold." Elena looked up, surprised. "You're careful," Marcus said. "There's a difference." Elena felt something crack open inside her, just a little. Just enough to let in a sliver of light. "I don't like owing people," Marcus continued. "My ex, she used to give me things, buy me things, and then hold it over me when we argued. I paid for that. I did this for you." Like love was a ledger. He shook his head. "I swore I'd never do that to Maya, and I swore I'd never let anyone do it to me again." "That's why you asked," Elena said quietly. "Why you didn't just assume I'd help." "Yeah." They sat with that for a while, the heater humming between them. Then Elena did something she hadn't done in 10 years. She reached out, slowly, and placed her palm flat on the arm of Marcus's chair. Not touching him, just close, just nearby. "Is this okay?" she asked. Marcus looked down at her hand, then at her face. "Yeah," he said. "That's okay." Elena left her hand there, feeling the warmth of the heater and the rough fabric under her fingers. Her heart was pounding, but she wasn't afraid. She was just awake. When Marcus finally carried Maya out an hour later, the first light of dawn was starting to creep through the windows. Elena walked them to the door, her bare feet silent on the marble. At the threshold, Marcus paused. "Thank you," he said. "For asking, not fixing." Elena blinked. "What?" "You asked permission," Marcus said. "You didn't just swoop in and solve everything for us. You let me still be her father. That matters." Elena didn't know what to say, so she just nodded. "Would it be okay," Marcus said carefully, "if I talk to you again? Later today, once my shift is done?" Elena's breath caught. "Yes," she said. "I'd like that." "Okay," Marcus said. "I'll find you." He stepped into the hallway, and Elena watched him disappear around the corner, Maya's curls bouncing softly against his shoulder. She closed the door and pressed her palm against the cool wood, her other hand against her chest, feeling her heart race. For the first time in 10 years, she wasn't afraid of it. By 9 a.m., Elena was showered, dressed, and sitting in a boardroom briefing her staff on VIP recovery procedures. The sprinkler malfunction had been minor, no real damage, just some wet carpets and rattled guests. Everything was back to normal. Except Elena didn't feel normal. She felt like she was standing on the edge of something that could either cradle her or let her fall. Her phone buzzed during a lull in the meeting. A text from Ruth. Marcus wants to meet. Staff lounge, 12:30, no cameras, your call. Elena's hands tightened on her phone. Another buzz, this time her mother. Call me. I heard there was an incident last night. Elena closed her eyes. Vivian Whitford didn't miss anything. If she'd already heard about Marcus being in the penthouse, and Elena had no doubt she had, then the pressure was coming. The questions. The expectations. But for once, Elena didn't care about managing the optics. She cared about something real. She texted Ruth back, I'll be there. Then she opened a new message to Marcus. Thank you for last night. See you at 12:30. She hit send before she could second-guess herself. Across town, in a small apartment with dinosaur curtains and a kitchen table covered in breakfast crumbs, Marcus Hale read the message and smiled. Maya looked up from her cereal. What's funny, Daddy? Nothing, baby, Marcus said. Just something good. And for the first time in a long time, he believed it. The staff lounge at 12:30 was a study in fluorescent normalcy. Beige walls, a coffee maker that gurgled like it had a cold, and a bulletin board covered in shift schedules and safety reminders. Elena had never spent much time here. Her world was upstairs. Polished lobbies, marble floors, spaces designed to impress. This room was honest, worn, real. Marcus was already there when she arrived, sitting at a small table near the window with 2 paper cups of coffee. He'd changed out of his wet uniform into clean clothes, jeans and a plain gray Henley that made him look less like an engineer and more like someone she might see at a bookstore or a park. He stood when he saw her, then seemed to catch himself and sat back down. Elena appreciated that. No assumptions, no performance. She slid into the chair across from him. Hi? Hi. He pushed one of the cups toward her. I didn't know how you take it. This one's just black. That's perfect. Elena wrapped her hands around the cup, letting the warmth ground her. Thank you. They sat in silence for a moment, not uncomfortable, just careful. I owe you an apology, Elena said finally. Marcus frowned. For what? For putting you in a difficult position last night. If anyone saw you leaving my suite, if there's talk, I don't want that to affect your job. Marcus took a sip of his coffee, considering. Ruth already gave me the heads up, said there might be questions. He met her eyes. But I'm not worried about my job. I did my job. Everything else is just noise. Elena felt something loosen in her chest. Still, I want you to know that if anyone gives you trouble, I'll make sure. No. The word was firm, but not harsh. Marcus leaned forward slightly. I appreciate that you want to help, but I don't need you to protect me. I just need you to be honest with me. Elena blinked. Honest? Yeah. Marcus folded his hands on the table. If we're going to talk again, and I'd like to, if you would, then I need to know it's because you want to, not because you feel guilty, not because you're trying to manage some situation, just because. The directness of it caught Elena off guard. She was used to conversations with layers, subtext, and strategy, and careful positioning. This was none of that. This was just a question. I want to, she said quietly. I've been thinking about you all morning, about Maya, about... She hesitated. About how I didn't feel scared. Marcus's expression softened. That's good. It is. Elena took a breath. But I need to be honest, too. I'm not good at this. At letting people close. I have rules, boundaries, and I'm going to need to move slowly. Okay, Marcus said simply. That's it? Just okay? Yeah. He smiled, small but warm. I've got a 6-year-old who needs stability and a job that keeps me up all night. Slow sounds pretty reasonable to me. Elena felt herself smile back. All right then. They talked for another 20 minutes, setting ground rules like two people negotiating a truce. No gifts, no grand gestures, no public scenes that could confuse Maya or create gossip. Just honest check-ins, just time. At the end, Marcus glanced at his watch. I need to pick up Maya at 3. Would you? He paused, seeming to measure the ask. Would you want to walk with us? At a distance, if that's easier. She might remember you from last night. Elena's heart did a small, unexpected flip. I'd like that. Okay. Marcus stood, and this time Elena did too. They were close enough that she could smell the faint scent of soap and coffee. Close enough that her old instincts screamed at her to step back. She stayed where she was. See you at 3, she said. See you then. The elementary school was 6 blocks from the hotel, a cheerful brick building with a playground full of bright equipment. Elena arrived 5 minutes early, her hands tucked into the pockets of her coat. The mist from yesterday's storm had burned off, leaving the air clean and cool. Marcus was already there, leaning against the fence with easy patience. When he saw Elena, he straightened and walked over. Hey, he said. Hey. They stood side by side, not quite touching, watching the school doors. Other parents clustered in small groups, chatting and laughing. Elena felt conspicuous, like everyone could see the newness of this, the fragility. But no one was looking at them. There. Marcus nodded toward the doors. Maya came bouncing out, her backpack almost as big as she was. She wore a purple jacket and light-up sneakers that flashed with every step. When she saw Marcus, her face lit up like sunrise. Daddy? Marcus crouched down and caught her in a hug, his whole body relaxing into it. Hey, baby, how was school? Good. We made butterflies with tissue paper and I got a sticker for reading 3 whole books. 3 whole books? Marcus pulled back, eyes wide with exaggerated shock. That's amazing. Then Maya noticed Elena. Her excitement dimmed to something more cautious. She pressed closer to Marcus, her small hand curling into his shirt. Marcus kept his voice easy. Maya, you remember Miss Elena from last night? When we waited in her room during the leak? Maya nodded slowly, her dark eyes studying Elena with the frank assessment only children could manage. Elena crouched down, bringing herself to Maya's level. Hi, Maya. Your dad told me about the butterflies? That sounds really cool. Maya didn't say anything for a long moment. Then she reached into her jacket pocket and pulled out a sticker, a shiny gold star. She held it out to Elena. You can have this one, she said quietly. I have 2 more. Elena felt something crack wide open in her chest. She took the sticker carefully, like it was made of glass. Thank you. This is really special. Maya gave her a small smile, then looked up at Marcus. Can we go to the bus stop now? We can. Marcus stood, taking Maya's hand. He glanced at Elena. You coming? Elena fell into step beside them, a little behind, giving them space. Maya chattered about her day, about the butterflies and a boy named Christopher who ate glue, and how her teacher had a new fish in the classroom. Marcus listened with the kind of full attention that told Elena this was their routine. This was sacred. At the bus stop, Marcus shared his umbrella even though the rain had stopped. The 3 of them stood together under its shelter, and for a moment, Elena felt like part of something. Not a guest, not an outsider, just someone standing next to 2 people she was beginning to care about. Then her phone buzzed. She pulled it out, and her stomach dropped. A text from Kenji Park, the concierge. Check your email. We may have a problem. Elena opened her email with shaking hands. There, in her inbox, was a forwarded link to a local gossip blog. The headline read, Whitford Heiress's late-night visitor? Below it was a photo, blurry and taken from an odd angle, but unmistakable. Marcus, carrying Maya, stepping out of a hallway. The timestamp read 6:47 a.m. "Everything okay?" Marcus asked. Elena looked up, her throat tight. "We need to talk. Not here. After Maya's on the bus." Marcus's expression shifted, but he nodded. "Okay." The bus arrived 3 minutes later. Maya climbed aboard with a cheerful wave, her light-up shoes flashing as she disappeared into the rows of seats. The bus pulled away, and Elena and Marcus were alone on the sidewalk. "What is it?" Marcus asked. Elena showed him the phone. Marcus read the headline, his jaw tightening. Then he scrolled to the comments. Speculative, some cruel, most just curious. He handed the phone back. "Okay," he said evenly. "That's it? Just okay?" "What else is there?" Marcus looked at her, his expression calm. "Someone took a picture. People are talking. But we didn't do anything wrong." "My mother is going to see this," Elena said, her voice thin. "She's going to call. She's going to demand answers." "Then tell her the truth," Marcus said. "There was a leak. I needed help. You gave it. End of story." "It's never that simple with her." Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Are you ashamed of me?" "What?" "No." Elena's response was immediate, fierce. "Not for a second." "Then we'll figure it out." He reached out slowly, giving her time to see it coming, and touched her elbow, the lightest pressure. "But I need you to promise me something." "What?" "No secrets," Marcus said. "No spin. If something like this happens, you tell me. Even if you think it'll make me uncomfortable. Even if you think you can fix it yourself." His eyes held hers. "I can't be with someone who manages me instead of talking to me." The words hit harder than the photo had, because he was right. Elena's first instinct had been to figure out a strategy, to control the narrative, to protect Marcus without asking if he wanted to be protected. "I promise," she said. "No secrets." "Okay." Marcus let his hand drop. "Now let's go talk to Kenji." Kenji Park was a master of discretion. In his 5 years as the hotel's head concierge, he'd handled celebrity meltdowns, mistaken identities, and at least one minor diplomatic incident. A blurry photo on a gossip blog barely made him blink. He met them in a quiet corner of the lobby, his tablet tucked under one arm. "I've already drafted a response," he said without preamble. "Building maintenance update. Routine sprinkler test revealed a valve issue. Staff responded appropriately. Boring, factual, and it'll flood the search algorithms with something that isn't gossip." "Will that work?" Elena asked. "It usually does." Kenji glanced at Marcus. "The photo doesn't show faces clearly. No names are mentioned in the post. As long as no one confirms or denies anything, it'll die in 48 hours. Marcus nodded slowly. "And if someone asks directly?" "We say what I just said. Maintenance emergency, staff response, end of story." Kenji's expression softened slightly. "But, Elena, you should know. Your mother is already aware. She called the front desk 20 minutes ago." Elena closed her eyes. "Of course she did. She wants to see you, tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., at her usual place." "The restaurant on 5th, Elena murmured. "She likes it because it's visible, public. Hard to make a scene." "You don't have to go alone," Marcus said quietly. Elena looked at him, surprised. "You'd come with me?" "If you want me to." She almost said yes, almost reached for the comfort of not facing Vivian Whitford alone. But then she remembered what Marcus had said about being managed instead of partnered. "No," she said, "but thank you. This is my mother. My mess. I need to handle it." Marcus studied her face, then nodded. "Okay, but call me after?" I will. That evening, Marcus invited Elena to the hotel cafeteria for dinner. It wasn't romantic. Fluorescent lights, plastic trays, the clatter of dishes. But it was neutral ground. Safe. They sat in a corner booth with simple meals. Chicken and rice for Marcus, a salad for Elena. Around them, staff came and went, paying them no attention. Maya asked about you at bedtime, Marcus said, cutting his chicken into neat squares. She wanted to know if you'd read to her again sometime? Elena's heart squeezed. What did you tell her? I told her maybe. That grown-ups have to figure some things out first. He looked up. But I also told her that you were kind, and that I liked you. You told her that? Yeah. Marcus took a bite, chewed, swallowed. I don't lie to my daughter. If I'm spending time with you, she deserves to know why. Elena set down her fork, her hands trembling slightly. I like you too, she said. Both of you. That scares me. Why? Because I haven't let myself care about someone in 10 years. Because the last time I did, it ended badly. Because... She swallowed. Because I don't know how to do this without all my rules and boundaries and careful distance. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he said, You want to know something funny? What? I've seen you before. Years ago, before I worked here. I was doing contract work, fixing a leak at a townhouse on the east side. You were there, standing at a window on the second floor? You looked so alone. I remember thinking that someone that sad shouldn't have to be in a house that big by herself. Elena stared at him. You remember that? I remember you, Marcus said simply. I've been noticing you for a long time. I just never thought I'd get to talk to you. The honesty of it was almost too much. Elena felt tears prick at her eyes, and she blinked them back hard. I'm glad you do, she said. Talk to me, I mean. Me too. They finished their meal in companionable silence. When Marcus's phone buzzed with a work alert, he stood reluctantly. I need to check on the HVAC units on the third floor. Sensors are acting up. Okay. Elena stood too, gathering her tray. At the cafeteria exit, Marcus paused. Elena? Yeah? Good luck tomorrow, with your mom. Elena managed a small smile. Thanks, I'll need it. She watched him walk toward the service elevators, his stride easy and purposeful. Then she turned toward the lobby, her stomach already knotting at the thought of breakfast with Vivian. But for the first time in years, she wasn't facing her mother's judgment alone. She had someone who'd asked her to call afterward, someone who cared. 8 a.m. came too early. Elena sat across from her mother in the corner booth of an upscale restaurant that smelled like fresh bread and expensive coffee. Vivian Whitford was 56, impeccably dressed, and every inch the CEO of a hotel empire. Her dark hair was swept into a flawless twist, and her manicured hands rested on the table like twin exclamation points. Explain, Vivian said without preamble. Elena took a breath. There was a sprinkler malfunction. Marcus Hale is our building engineer. He was checking the valves with his daughter because his sister couldn't cover childcare. He entered my suite by accident. I offered them shelter until the corridor was dry. That's all. That's all? Vivian's eyebrow arched. Elena, a photograph of a staff member leaving your private residence at dawn, is now circulating online. Do you understand what that looks like? It looks like I helped someone who needed help. It looks improper. Elena felt her jaw tighten. Marcus did nothing wrong. Neither did I. I'm not questioning his conduct. I'm questioning your judgment. Vivian leaned forward slightly. You're a Whitford. People watch you. They talk. Every decision you make reflects on this family, on this company. If you want to be generous, fine. Do it through proper channels. Donations, PR events. Not by inviting employees into your home in the middle of the night. He's not an employee, Elena said quietly. He's a person. His name is Marcus, and I like him. The words hung in the air like a confession. Vivian went very still. Excuse me? I like him, Elena repeated, her voice stronger now. I'm going to spend more time with him, with his daughter, and I'm going to do it honestly, not hiding in corners or pretending it's something it's not. Elena. Vivian's voice dropped to a tone Elena knew well, the one that meant danger. You barely know this man. You can't possibly be serious about— I'm serious about trying, Elena interrupted. I'm serious about not letting fear run my life anymore, and I'm serious about not needing your permission. Vivian sat back, her expression unreadable. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then carefully, she folded her napkin and set it on the table. I love you, she said. Everything I do, every piece of advice I give, comes from that love. You were hurt once, badly. I don't want to see that happen again. I know, Elena said softly. But you can't protect me from everything, and trying to will only push me away. Vivian's mouth tightened. I want to meet him, properly, not in some hallway encounter. If you're going to pursue this, I want to see who he is. Elena hesitated. That was a reasonable request, but it was also a power play. Vivian in her element, assessing and judging. Marcus, under a microscope. On one condition, Elena said. Which is? You come to him. No boardrooms, no formal dinners. You meet him where he's comfortable, where Maya is comfortable. Vivian looked genuinely surprised. You're negotiating with me? I'm setting a boundary, Elena said. Yes or no? For the first time in years, Vivian smiled, small, but real. You've grown up. Is that a yes? It's a yes. Elena called Marcus as soon as she left the restaurant, her hands still shaking slightly from adrenaline. How did it go? He asked. Better than expected, Elena said. She wants to meet you, but I told her it has to be on your terms. Is that okay? Marcus was quiet for a moment. Yeah, he said finally. That's okay. Thank you for asking. Always, Elena said, and she meant it. The next few days fell into a rhythm that felt almost normal, almost easy. Marcus would pick up Maya from school, and Elena would walk with them, sometimes to the bus stop, sometimes to the park 2 blocks over, where Maya liked to feed the pigeons with stale bread Marcus brought in a paper bag. They didn't hold hands. They didn't kiss. They just existed together in the same space, learning each other's rhythms. Elena learned that Marcus hummed when he was thinking, that he always let Maya pick which path to take through the park, that he carried Band-Aids in his pocket because Maya was fearless on the playground and scraped knees were a regular occurrence. Marcus learned that Elena counted her steps when she was anxious, that she always asked before touching anything, even a swing, to help push Maya, that she laughed more freely when she thought no one was paying attention. And Maya, in the way children do, made space for Elena without ceremony. She offered her snacks from her lunchbox. She asked Elena to hold her jacket while she climbed the monkey bars. She talked about her day with the assumption that Elena cared, because Elena did. On Saturday morning, Maya invited Elena to the library. They have story time at 11, Maya announced, bouncing on her toes outside the hotel entrance where Elena had met them. Mrs. Chen reads the best voices. Last week she did a dragon and it was so scary. She made her hands into claws and roared, giggling at herself. Marcus rested a hand on Maya's shoulder, gentle and grounding. We don't want to assume Miss Elena is free, baby. But I asked her yesterday, Maya said, looking up at her father with perfect 6-year-old logic. She said maybe. Maybe means yes, if nothing bad happens. Marcus looked at Elena, apology and amusement mixing in his expression. You don't have to. I want to, Elena said, and she did. She'd spent the morning nervous excited, changing clothes 3 times before settling on jeans and a simple blue sweater. Nothing fancy, nothing that screamed Heiress or Whitford, just herself. Maya grabbed Elena's hand without asking, small fingers wrapping around hers with complete trust, and tugged her toward the crosswalk. Elena's breath caught, but her hand didn't pull away. Marcus fell into step on Maya's other side, close enough that Elena could feel the warmth of him even without touching. They walked 3 across down the sidewalk, and for a moment Elena felt like she was part of something she'd only ever watched from windows. A family. The library was an old brick building with tall windows and the particular smell of books and floor polish that every library seemed to share. The children's section was in the back, a bright space with foam letters scattered across the carpet and shelves full of picture books with cracked spines and well-loved pages. Maya dragged Elena to the reading circle, where a dozen other children were already settling onto cushions. Mrs. Chen, a tiny woman with steel gray hair and reading glasses on a beaded chain, smiled warmly at them. Welcome, Maya. Who's your friend? This is Ms. Elena, Maya said proudly. She lives in a penthouse. Elena felt her cheeks heat. Several parents glanced over, and she could see them doing the math, recognizing her face maybe, or just noting the expensive watch she'd forgotten to take off. But Mrs. Chen just nodded pleasantly. Wonderful. You're both very welcome. They sat on cushions at the back of the circle. Marcus stood against the wall with the other parents, his arms crossed loosely over his chest. When Elena glanced back at him, he gave her a small, reassuring nod. Mrs. Chen opened a picture book about a bear who was afraid of the dark, and Elena found herself drawn into the story, despite being 3 times the age of the target audience. She watched Maya's face more than the pictures, the way her eyes went wide at the scary parts, the way she leaned into Elena's side without thinking about it. Halfway through the story, Maya reached over and placed her small hand on Elena's knee. A casual touch, the kind a child gives when they feel safe. Elena's throat tightened. She placed her own hand lightly over Maya's, and the little girl smiled up at her before turning back to the story. When it ended, the children scattered to pick out books to take home. Maya chose 3, one about butterflies, one about a girl who built a rocket, and one about a family of raccoons who opened a restaurant. That's a lot of books, Marcus said, crouching down to inspect them. You sure you can read all 3 this week? Ms. Elena can help, Maya said matter-of-factly. Elena and Marcus exchanged a look. There was a question in his eyes. Is that okay? Elena nodded. Okay then, Marcus said. But you have to read at least one all by yourself, deal? Deal. They checked out the books at the front desk and walked to the park across the street. The autumn sun was warm and the leaves were just starting to turn gold at the edges. Marcus spread a blanket under a maple tree, and they sat together, Marcus and Elena on either end, Maya in the middle with her books spread around her like treasures. Marcus had brought sandwiches, simple ones, peanut butter and jelly cut into triangles, and a thermos of lemonade. They ate and talked about small things. Maya chattered about her favorite teacher and a boy named James who could burp the alphabet. Marcus told a story about the time he'd accidentally locked himself in a utility closet for 2 hours. Elena listened and laughed and felt something in her chest expand until it almost hurt. After lunch, Maya went to play on the swings. Marcus and Elena stayed on the blanket, watching her. She really likes you, Marcus said quietly. I really like her, Elena replied. Both of you. Marcus turned to look at her, and there was something serious in his expression. I need to say something. Elena's stomach tightened. Okay? This He gestured between them, then toward Maya. This is real to me. I'm not playing around. I'm not killing time. If we keep doing this, if we keep getting closer, I need to know you're in it. Because if you're not, if this is just, I don't know, an experiment, or a curiosity or something you're going to walk away from when it gets hard, I need to know now, before Maya gets any more attached. The words were gentle, but they carried weight. Elena understood what he was really saying. You can hurt me, but don't hurt my daughter. I'm scared, Elena admitted. I'm scared I'll mess this up, that I'll pull away when things get difficult, because that's what I've always done. But I'm trying. I want this to work. She swallowed. I want to be someone you both can count on. Marcus studied her face for a long moment. Then he did something unexpected. He reached out slowly, his hand moving toward her face. Elena's first instinct was to flinch, but she held still. His fingers brushed her cheek, the lightest touch, barely there, and then retreated. That okay? He asked. Elena's heart was hammering, but not from panic, from something else entirely. Yes, she whispered. Good, Marcus said, and he smiled. Monday evening, Marcus took Elena somewhere she'd never expected to go, the hotel's grand ballroom under renovation. I wanted you to see something, he said, leading her through the plastic sheeting and sawdust. The ballroom was massive, with soaring ceilings and 3 enormous chandeliers hanging like frozen starbursts overhead. Most of the furniture was covered in dropcloths, and the parquet floor was scuffed and dull. But when Marcus flipped a switch, the chandeliers blazed to life, hundreds of crystal pendants catching the light and scattering it across the walls like captured stars. Elena gasped. We're testing the rewiring, Marcus explained. But I don't know. I thought you'd like to see it when no one else was around. Elena walked to the center of the floor, turning slowly to take it all in. It's beautiful. Yeah, Marcus said, but he was looking at her, not the chandeliers. Elena felt heat rise in her cheeks. Stop that. Stop what? Looking at me like that. Like what? Like I'm... She trailed off, not sure how to finish. Marcus walked toward her, his footsteps echoing in the empty space. Like you're someone worth looking at? Elena's breath hitched. Marcus! I brought food, he said, pulling a paper bag from behind one of the covered chairs. Nothing fancy, just sandwiches from the deli on 7th. But I thought we could eat here, if you want. They sat on the stage steps, their shoulders almost touching, and ate sandwiches that tasted better than they had any right to. Marcus pulled out his phone and found a playlist, something soft and jazzy, instrumental. I'm not much of a dancer, he said. But Maya's been watching those princess movies, and she keeps asking me to teach her to waltz. I looked up a video. He scratched the back of his neck, embarrassed. I've been practicing. Elena felt something warm and bright bloom in her chest. You practiced waltzing for your 6-year-old? Don't make fun. I'm not. Elena set down her sandwich and stood, brushing crumbs from her jeans. Show me. Marcus looked up at her, surprised. Yeah? Yeah. He stood slowly, pocketing his phone so the music kept playing. Then he held out his hand, not taking, just offering. May I? Elena placed her hand in his. His palm was warm and slightly rough from work. She felt the calluses, the strength, the careful way he held her, like she was something precious. Other hand here, Marcus said, guiding her hand to his shoulder. His other hand settled on her waist. Gentle, respectful, giving her every chance to pull away. She didn't. They swayed more than danced, their movements simple and unpolished. Elena could hear Marcus counting under his breath. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. and it made her smile. "You're doing great," she murmured. "I have a good partner." The song changed to something slower. Elena, feeling braver than she'd felt in years, shifted closer and rested her cheek against Marcus's chest. She could hear his heartbeat, steady and strong and real. "This okay?" she whispered. "More than okay," Marcus said, his voice rough. They swayed together under the crystal light, and Elena thought, This is what I've been missing. Not perfection, not performance, just this." Then a voice cut through the music like a knife. "Elena!" Elena jerked back, her heart leaping into her throat. Vivian Whitford stood in the ballroom doorway, her silhouette sharp against the hallway light. The music kept playing, tinny and too cheerful. Marcus's hands dropped from Elena's waist, and he stepped back, putting proper distance between them. "Mother," Elena said, her voice tight. "What are you doing here?" "I might ask you the same question." Vivian walked into the ballroom, her heels clicking against the parquet. Her gaze swept over Marcus, assessing, measuring, judging, and then returned to Elena. "We need to talk, now." "Can it wait?" Elena asked, even though she already knew the answer. "No." Marcus cleared his throat. "I should go. I've got a maintenance log to finish anyway." "You don't have to leave," Elena said quickly, but Marcus was already gathering the sandwich wrappers and his phone. "It's okay. We'll talk later." He nodded politely to Vivian. "Ma'am?" Vivian's expression didn't change. "Mr. Hale?" Marcus walked past her toward the door, and Elena felt something inside her crack. He was leaving, walking away, and she was standing here, frozen, unable to choose between the mother who'd raised her and the man who made her feel alive. The door clicked shut behind Marcus, and Elena turned to face her mother. "What do you want?" Vivian studied her for a long moment. "I came to see if the renovations were on schedule. I didn't expect to find you here. With him." "His name is Marcus." "I know his name." Vivian walked closer, and Elena fought the urge to step back. "Elena, I understand that you care for this man. I can see it. But have you thought about what this looks like? What people will say?" "I don't care what people say." "You should." Vivian's voice was sharp. "You're a Whitford. That means something. It means responsibility. It means I've spent my whole life being careful." Elena interrupted. "Being perfect, never making mistakes, never taking risks. And where has that gotten me? I'm 28 years old, and until a week ago, I hadn't let anyone touch me in 10 years. Vivian's expression flickered, something that might have been pain. "That's not fair." "Isn't it?" Elena felt tears prick at her eyes. "You taught me to protect myself, to keep people at arm's length, to never let anyone see weakness. And I listened. I built walls so high that I couldn't even see over them anymore. I was trying to protect you. I know." Elena's voice cracked. "I know you were. But I don't need protection anymore, Mom. I need to live." They stood in the empty ballroom, the chandeliers casting fractured light around them. Vivian looked older suddenly, tired in a way Elena rarely saw. "I love you," Vivian said quietly. "Everything I do." "I know," Elena said. "But you have to let me make my own choices, even if they're mistakes, even if they hurt." Vivian was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "I still want to meet him, properly." "Why?" "Because if he's going to break your heart, I want to look him in the eye first." Elena almost smiled. It was the most honest thing her mother had said all night. "Okay," she said, "but not in a boardroom, not at a restaurant, somewhere normal." "Where?" Elena thought for a moment. "I'll ask Marcus. He'll know." Vivian nodded slowly. Then, unexpectedly, She reached out and touched Elena's arm, a brief, awkward gesture that was as close to a hug as Vivian ever came. "Be careful," she said. "Please." "I will," Elena promised. But she wasn't sure anymore if being careful was the same as being safe. Elena found Marcus in the maintenance bay 20 minutes later. He was bent over a workbench, updating logs on a tablet, his shoulders tight with tension. "Hey," she said softly. He looked up, and the carefully neutral expression on his face almost broke her heart. "Hey," he said. Elena walked closer, stopping a few feet away. "I'm sorry. About my mother. About—" "Did you ask her to offer me a transfer?" Marcus interrupted. Elena froze. "What?" "Your mother found me after you left with her. She said there was an opportunity at the sister property upstate. Better hours, better pay. She said it would be better for everyone if I took it." His jaw was tight. "Did you know about that?" "No," Elena said immediately. "I swear I didn't, but—" She swallowed. "I thought about it, about asking if you could transfer. I thought it might make things easier, less complicated." Marcus set down the tablet. "Easier for who?" "For you. For Maya. If people weren't talking about us, if there wasn't gossip." "So, your solution was to make me disappear?" "No." Elena took a step forward. "That's not what I meant. I wanted to protect you." "I don't need you to protect me," Marcus said, his voice harder than she'd ever heard it. "I need you to be honest with me. I need you to talk to me before you make decisions about my life." "I know. You're right. I'm sorry." "Are you?" Marcus stood, and there was something in his eyes that scared her. "Or are you just sorry I found out?" The words hit like a slap. Elena felt tears well up, hot and stinging. "That's not fair." "Isn't it?" Marcus echoed her words from earlier. "Elena, I told you from the beginning, I won't be managed. I won't be fixed. I won't be your project, or your good deed, or something you hide away to make your life easier." "I don't want to hide you." "Then why did you think about moving me to another city?" Elena didn't have an answer. Because he was right. She'd been thinking about logistics, about optics, about how to make this work within the careful framework of her controlled life. She hadn't been thinking about him. "I'm scared," she whispered. "I'm scared that if we keep doing this, people will say things. They'll say I'm using you, or that you're using me. They'll make it ugly, and I can't." "So that's it?" Marcus's voice was quiet now, almost gentle. "You're giving up because it might get hard?" "No, I don't know." Elena pressed her hands to her face. "I don't know how to do this, Marcus. I don't know how to be with someone without trying to control everything." Marcus was silent for a long moment. Then he said, "I think you should go." Elena's hands dropped. "What?" "I think you need to figure out what you want, really want, because I can't be with someone who's always looking for the exit." He looked at her, and his eyes were sad. "I love you, Elena. I think I have since that first night. But I won't love someone who doesn't trust me, who doesn't trust herself." The words hung in the air between them. "You love me?" Elena whispered. "Yeah," Marcus said. "But that's not enough, is it?" Elena opened her mouth to answer, but no words came out, because she didn't know. She didn't know if love was enough. She didn't know if she could be the person he deserved. So she did what she'd always done when things got too hard. The apartment felt too quiet. Elena sat at her kitchen counter the next morning, staring at a piece of toast she had no intention of eating. The sun was coming up outside, painting the city in shades of gold and pink, but she couldn't bring herself to care. "I love you, Elena," The words kept playing in her head like a song stuck on repeat. Marcus had said them simply, without drama, like they were just a fact. The sky is blue, water is wet, I love you. And she'd walked away. Her phone buzzed, a text from Ruth. You okay? Elena typed back. No. 3 dots appeared, then. Want to talk about it? Elena stared at the message. The old her would have said, I'm fine, and buried herself in work. The old her would have put on a perfect mask and pretended nothing hurt. But the old her had been alone. Yes, she typed. Coffee at 10? I'll bring the good stuff, Ruth replied. They met in a small cafe 3 blocks from the hotel, the kind of place with mismatched chairs and handwritten menus. Ruth arrived with 2 large coffees and a paper bag of croissants that smelled like butter and hope. Talk, Ruth said, sitting down across from Elena. So Elena did. She told Ruth everything, about the ballroom, about Vivian, about the transfer Marcus thought she'd orchestrated, about how she'd been so busy trying to protect everyone that she'd hurt the one person she was trying to save. Ruth listened without interrupting, her dark eyes steady and kind. When Elena finally ran out of words, Ruth took a sip of her coffee and said, You messed up. Elena let out a surprised laugh that was half sob. I know. Good, that's the first step. Ruth broke off a piece of croissant and pushed the rest across the table. Now here's the second step. Stop trying to manage everyone's feelings. Marcus is a grown man. He can handle gossip. He can handle your mother. What he can't handle is you making decisions for him without asking. I was trying to help. No, you were trying to control the outcome. There's a difference. Ruth's voice was gentle but firm. Elena, I've known you for 5 years. You're brilliant at your job because you can see problems coming and fix them before anyone notices. But relationships don't work that way. You can't crisis manage your way through love. Elena wrapped her hands around her coffee cup, feeling the warmth seep into her palms. What if I can't do it? What if I'm too broken? You're not broken, Ruth said firmly. You're careful, and there's nothing wrong with that, as long as you don't let it turn into prison bars. She leaned forward. Marcus doesn't want you to be perfect. He wants you to be honest, to trust him enough to let him in, mess and all. He said he loves me, and I didn't say it back. Ruth raised an eyebrow. Do you love him? Elena thought about Marcus counting under his breath while they danced, about the way he asked permission before touching anything, about Maya's small hand in hers, warm and trusting, about the way she'd felt, standing in that ballroom under the crystal light, like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. Yes, she whispered. I think I do. Then you need to tell him, not here, not to me. Ruth stood up, gathering her coffee. Tell him, on his terms, in his space, no grand gestures, no fixing, just you being honest. Elena nodded, her throat tight. What if he won't listen? Then you try again tomorrow, and the day after that. You keep showing up until he believes you. Ruth squeezed Elena's shoulder as she passed. You're stronger than you think, honey. Trust yourself for once. Elena spent the rest of the day thinking about what Ruth had said, about control and trust and the difference between protecting someone and smothering them. At 2 o'clock, she made a decision. She changed into sneakers and jeans, pulled her hair into a simple ponytail, and left her apartment without her phone, without her assistant, without any of the armor she usually wore. Then she walked to the maintenance bay. Marcus wasn't there. The bay was empty except for rolling tool chests and the smell of oil and metal. Elena stood in the doorway, suddenly uncertain. Can I help you? A voice behind her made her turn. Ruth stood there with a clipboard, an eyebrow raised. He's not here. Where? It's Tuesday, Ruth said. He picks up Maya at 3. They usually go to the park after. She studied Elena's face. You want me to call him? No, Elena said. I need to do this myself. Ruth nodded approvingly. Good answer. The park was 5 blocks away. Elena walked quickly, her heart pounding against her ribs. The afternoon sun was warm, and families were scattered across the grass. Parents pushing strollers, kids climbing on playground equipment, dogs chasing tennis balls. She spotted them near the swings. Marcus stood behind Maya, pushing her gently while she shrieked with delight. He looked tired, Elena thought, shadows under his eyes that hadn't been there before. But he was smiling at his daughter, present and attentive, giving her everything even when he was running on empty. Elena's chest ached. She walked closer, her footsteps slow. Maya saw her first. Ms. Elena! The little girl dragged her feet to stop the swing and jumped off, running toward Elena with her arms outstretched. Elena caught her in a hug, kneeling down to hold her tight. Hi, sweetheart. Where were you? We went to the library on Saturday, but you weren't there. Daddy said you were busy. Maya pulled back, her dark eyes serious. Are you still busy? No? Elena said, her voice thick. I'm not busy anymore. She looked up and met Marcus's eyes. He stood by the swings, his hands in his pockets, his expression carefully neutral. Waiting. Elena stood up slowly, her hand resting on Maya's shoulder. Can we talk? She asked Marcus. Please. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he looked down at Maya. Baby, can you play on the slide for a few minutes? Stay where I can see you. Okay, Daddy. Maya squeezed Elena's hand once, then ran toward the playground equipment. Marcus walked over to a bench and sat down. Elena sat beside him, leaving space between them. The distance felt like a canyon. I'm sorry, Elena said. For everything. For trying to fix things without talking to you first. For making you feel like I wanted to hide you. For walking away when things got hard. She took a breath. You were right. About all of it. Marcus didn't say anything. He just watched Maya climb the ladder to the slide, his jaw tight. I don't know how to do this, Elena continued, her voice shaking. I don't know how to be in a relationship without trying to control everything. My therapist would have a field day with that if I actually went to therapy like I should. She let out a shaky laugh. But I want to learn. I want to try. Not because I think I can fix myself overnight, but because... She swallowed hard. Because I love you, both of you. And I'm tired of being afraid. Marcus turned to look at her then, and there was something raw in his expression. You love me? Yes. Elena felt tears slide down her cheeks, and she didn't wipe them away. I love the way you ask permission before you touch anything. I love the way you count under your breath when you're nervous. I love how you practice waltzing for your 6-year-old and how you carry Band-Aids because she's fearless and you know she'll fall. Her voice broke. I love that you see me, really see me, and you're not afraid of what you find. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, I'm still hurt. I know. And I'm still angry that you thought moving me away was a solution. I know. And I need you to promise me, actually promise me, that you won't make decisions about my life without talking to me first. I promise, Elena said. No more secrets, no more managing, just honesty. She turned to face him fully. Even when it's hard, even when I'm scared, I'll talk to you first. Marcus studied her face, searching for something. What about your mother? What about her? She's not going to stop pushing. She's not going to magically approve. Elena thought about the conversation in the ballroom, about Vivian's fear disguised as control. She doesn't have to approve. She just has to respect my choice. And if she can't, Elena took a breath. Then I'll handle it, but I won't let her come between us. Not again. And the gossip, the photos, people talking? Let them talk, Elena said. I'm done hiding. I'm done pretending I'm not exactly where I want to be. Marcus's expression softened slightly. Where do you want to be? Here, Elena said simply. With you. Ordinary and messy and real. For a long moment, Marcus didn't move. Then, slowly, he reached out and took her hand. His fingers laced through hers, warm and solid and real. Okay, he said quietly. Elena felt something inside her unfold. Something that had been clenched tight for 10 years, finally letting go. Okay? Yeah. Marcus squeezed her hand. But we're going to do this differently this time. We're going to talk. About everything. Even when it's uncomfortable. Even when you want to fix things yourself. I can do that, Elena said. And we're going to take it slow. For Maya's sake. No rushing, no grand gestures. Okay. And if your mother tries to offer me another transfer, I'm going to tell her no myself. Politely, but firmly. Elena almost smiled. I'd like to see that. Marcus looked at her, and for the first time in days, something like warmth crept into his eyes. You scared me, he said. When you walked away, I thought, I know. Elena moved closer, closing the space between them. I'm sorry. I won't do it again. You can't promise that, Marcus said. You're human. You're going to mess up. So am I. But we can promise to come back, to keep trying. Then I promise to come back, Elena said. Always. Marcus lifted their joined hands and pressed a kiss to her knuckles. Good! From the playground, Maya shouted, Daddy! Miss Elena, watch me! They turned to see her hanging upside down from the monkey bars, her hair cascading toward the ground, her face bright with pride. Be careful, Marcus called. I am. Maya flipped herself down and ran over, breathless and grinning. She looked at their joined hands and then up at both of them. Are you friends again? Marcus glanced at Elena, a question in his eyes. Better than friends, Elena said softly. If that's okay with you. Maya threw her arms around both of them in an enthusiastic hug. It's okay. Can we get ice cream now? Marcus laughed, deep and real and relieved. Yeah, baby, we can get ice cream. They walked to the ice cream truck at the park entrance, Maya between them, swinging on their joined hands. Elena felt lighter than she had in years. Not perfect, not fixed, just okay. And for now, that was enough. The next morning, Elena woke up to her phone buzzing with texts. The first was from Kenji. FYI, that old photo is circulating again. Slow news day, ignore it. The second was from Marcus. Saw the blog post. You good? Elena typed back. I'm good. Want to get coffee later and figure out how to handle it together? Marcus's response came immediately. Yeah, let's do that. Elena smiled and set down her phone. Then she called her mother. Elena, Vivian answered on the second ring. I was just about to call you. I want you to meet Marcus, Elena said without preamble. Not at a restaurant, not at the office, at the park where he and Maya go every day. This Saturday at 2. Vivian was quiet. That's unconventional. I know, but it's honest. And if you want to know who he really is, you need to see him in his life, not in yours. Another pause. Then, carefully, all right, I'll be there. Thank you, Elena said. Elena. Yes? I'm trying, Vivian said quietly. To let you make your own choices. It's harder than I thought it would be. Elena felt her throat tighten. I know, Mom, but I need you to keep trying. I will. Saturday came too quickly, and not quickly enough. Elena arrived at the park at 1:30, her stomach full of butterflies. Marcus and Maya were already there, setting up a blanket under their usual tree. Maya waved enthusiastically when she saw Elena. "We brought extra sandwiches," she announced. "And Daddy made brownies, but he burned the edges, so we cut those parts off." "They're still good," Marcus said defensively, and Elena laughed. She helped spread out the food. Sandwiches, cut fruit, the slightly crispy brownies that actually did taste good despite their appearance. At 1:50, she saw her mother walking across the grass in sensible flats and slacks, looking more out of place than Elena had ever seen her. "That's her?" Marcus asked quietly. "That's her." "She looks terrified." Elena glanced at him, surprised. "She does, doesn't she?" Vivian reached them and stopped at the edge of the blanket, her hands clasped in front of her. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Maya stood up and held out a paper plate. "Do you want a sandwich? We have peanut butter or turkey." Vivian looked down at the little girl with her gap-toothed smile and her hopeful eyes. Something in her expression softened. "Turkey, please," Vivian said. Maya handed her the sandwich with great ceremony, then pointed to a spot on the blanket. "You can sit there. That's the good spot, because you can see the whole playground." Vivian sat, carefully, like she was afraid the ground might collapse beneath her. Marcus handed her a napkin. Elena poured her some lemonade from the thermos. They ate in careful silence for a few minutes. Then Vivian said, "Maya, Elena tells me you're an excellent reader." Maya nodded eagerly. "I read 3 books this week. Do you want to hear about them?" "I do." Maya launched into an enthusiastic summary of the butterfly book, complete with hand gestures and sound effects. Vivian listened with the same focused attention she gave board meetings, asking questions in all the right places. Marcus caught Elena's eye and mouthed, "She's good with her." Elena nodded, surprised at the relief flooding through her. After Maya ran off to play, Vivian turned to Marcus. "I owe you an apology," she said, "for the transfer offer. That was inappropriate." Marcus met her eyes steadily. "Yes, it was." Vivian blinked, clearly not used to such directness. "I was trying to protect my daughter." "From what?" Marcus asked. "From being happy?" "From being hurt." "She's going to get hurt," Marcus said. "Life hurts. But you can't protect her from that by controlling everything around her. Trust me, I've tried with Maya. It doesn't work." Vivian looked at him for a long moment. Then, unexpectedly, she smiled, small but genuine. "You're not what I expected." "What did you expect?" "Someone easier to intimidate," Vivian said honestly. "Someone I could pay off or scare away." "I'm not going anywhere," Marcus said. "Unless Elena asks me to, and even then, I'd probably argue about it first." Elena felt her heart swell. She reached over and took Marcus's hand, lacing their fingers together in full view of her mother. Vivian looked at their joined hands, then at Elena's face. "You're happy." "I am," Elena said. "Then I suppose that's what matters." Vivian stood, brushing grass from her slacks. "I should go, but—" She hesitated. "Perhaps we could do this again, next week?" Elena blinked. "Really?" "Really." Vivian looked at Marcus. "If that's acceptable to you." "Yeah," Marcus said. "That's acceptable." Vivian nodded. Then awkwardly, she bent down and squeezed Elena's shoulder, the closest thing to a hug she could manage in public. "Be happy," she whispered. "Please." "I'm trying," Elena whispered back. Vivian walked away across the grass, and Elena watched her go, feeling something like peace settle over her. "That went better than I expected," Marcus said. "She likes Maya." "Everyone likes Maya." Elena laughed and leaned her head on his shoulder. "Thank you for being honest with her, for not backing down." "That's what you do for people you love," Marcus said simply. "You show up. You tell the truth." 2 weeks later, Kenji stopped Elena in the hotel lobby. "The photo thing is done," he announced. "Died completely. The blog that posted it took it down after I sent them the maintenance records and a very boring press release about building safety protocols." "You didn't have to do that," Elena said. "I wanted to." Kenji leaned against the concierge desk. "Plus, I like Marcus. He fixed my radiator last winter when no one else would take the call on Christmas Eve. He's good people." "He is," Elena agreed. "And you seem happy. That's new." Elena smiled. "It is." That evening, Marcus suggested something that made Elena's heart race: walking through the hotel lobby together. During shift change, when everyone would see. "Are you sure?" Elena asked. "I'm sure," Marcus said. "No more hiding, right?" "Right." So at 5 o'clock, when the lobby was full of staff and guests and busy chaos, Marcus took Elena's hand and they walked together from the service elevator to the main entrance. People noticed. Of course they noticed. Elena saw heads turn, saw whispers start, but she also saw Ruth smile from behind the front desk. Saw Kenji give them a subtle thumbs up. Saw staff members nod in greeting like this was completely normal. Because it was normal. It was just two people walking together. Near the revolving door, Maya appeared. Marcus's sister had dropped her off early, and she slipped her hand into Elena's free one without hesitation. "Where are we going?" Maya asked. "Nowhere special," Marcus said. "Just walking." "Okay." Maya swung their joined hands. "This is nice. We're like a chain." Elena looked down at the little girl, then up at Marcus. His eyes were warm, his smile soft. "Yeah," Elena said. "We are." 3 weeks after that, on a Sunday morning, Elena woke up in her own bed and realized something had changed. The apartment didn't feel too quiet anymore. She could hear Marcus in the kitchen, humming off key while he made scrambled eggs. She could hear Maya's voice, chattering about a dream she'd had about talking dolphins. She could hear the clink of dishes and the hiss of the kettle and the sounds of people she loved being alive in her space. And she wasn't afraid. She got up and padded into the kitchen in her pajamas. Marcus looked up when she entered, and his whole face softened. "Morning," he said. "Morning." Maya held up a drawing she'd made on a piece of scrap paper. "Look, it's us at the park." The drawing showed 3 stick figures under a tree, holding hands. The sun was a yellow circle, with rays shooting out in all directions. "It's perfect," Elena said, her throat tight. "We need more orange juice," Marcus said, checking the fridge. "And Maya needs new sneakers. The ones she has are getting tight." "We could go after breakfast," Elena suggested. "Make a day of it." Marcus met her eyes over Maya's head. "Yeah," he said softly. "We could do that." They ate breakfast together. Eggs and toast and slightly burned bacon that Maya insisted was crispy, not burned, Daddy. They cleaned up together, bumping hips at the sink and laughing when bubbles got everywhere. They made a grocery list together, arguing good-naturedly about whether chocolate or vanilla ice cream was superior. They were ordinary, messy, real. And as Elena stood in her kitchen, listening to Marcus argue that chocolate was obviously the superior choice, while Maya insisted they get both, she felt something she hadn't felt in 10 years. She felt home. Marcus caught her staring and smiled. "What?" "Nothing," Elena said, but she was smiling too. "Everything. I don't know." He walked over and pulled her into a hug. The kind where their whole bodies pressed together, where she could feel his heartbeat against her cheek, where she felt completely surrounded and completely safe. "I love you," he murmured into her hair. "I love you too," Elena whispered back. Maya appeared beside them and wrapped her arms around both their legs. "Group hug," They stood there in Elena's expensive kitchen with its marble counters and designer appliances, the three of them tangled together, and Elena thought, this is what I was waiting for. Not perfection, not control, just this, just love. Messy and ordinary and more beautiful than anything she could have planned. Okay, Marcus said, pulling back with a grin. Let's go get those. Sneakers, and orange juice, and maybe ice cream, even though the correct answer is obviously chocolate. Both, Maya insisted. Both, Elena agreed, taking her hand. They walked out together into the sunlight, and Elena didn't look back. She didn't need to. Everything she needed was right here, walking beside her, holding her hand, and choosing her, every single day, the same way she chose them. And that, she thought, was more than enough. The end.